Over the last couple of days, you've been hearing a lot of crazy sports stories. Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K retiring, and Bob Buffett being suspended from Churchill Downs. Well, I got one more for you. The USFL, the United States Football League, is back. Well, is coming back in next year, 2022. Oh boy. I cannot wait to see this happen. Now, everyone knows that other football leagues have tried to compete with directly or indirectly with the NFL. The World Football League of the 1970s that barely lasted one season and didn't even have a second season. The first XFL in 2000 that got onto a very strong start, but then bang, all the way down to the Ducks, making records as the lowest rating sports program in television history before it folded up after its first season. The revamped XFL2, which was sidelined because of the coronavirus pandemic. The most recent AFF, the Alliance of American Football, that didn't even have a full season. And especially the American Football League, which was actually merged into the NFL. Now, all of them have failed at some point, in one way or another, but the only one that had any kind of real success and a possibility of actually succeeding was the USFL of the 1980s. Now, real quick, I'm going to give you a small history lesson as to what the USFL really was. Now, the USFL was actually started, the ideas were actually conceived in 1965 by New Orleans business owner David Dixon, who saw a market for a professional football league that could be played in the summer when the NFL and college football were in their off season. And he was one of the people who was instrumental in creating the Louisiana Superdome. So he was one of the big cheeses, the big ones. Now, he developed the Dixon Plan, a blueprint for trying to create the USFL, basically trying to get NFL caliber stadiums with huge television markets. Los Angeles, New York, just to name two of them. Now, throughout this whole situation, things actually came to a head and they were actually started. In 1983, the USFL played its first game.
ABC Sports presents the season premiere of the United States Football League. Today, live from RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C., it's the Chicago Blitz versus the Washington Federals.
Now, on the field, it was a little bit better than the NFL that we know then. Now that it was back then. The USFL had a lot of amazing changes that the NFL actually adopted to today's game. And more to the point, you might recognize a few names that made it in the USFL and went on to have amazing careers in the NFL. I don't know, guys like Steve Young, who played for the New Jersey Generals in the USFL, came to the San Francisco 49ers and won a couple of Super Bowls. Amazing, isn't it? And a lot of these guys did make it to the Hall of Fame and others to the College Football Hall of Fame. Which brings to mind one guy who made a killing in the USFL as a running back. You guessed it, Herschel Walker, Heisman Trophy winner from the University of Georgia. In 1984, the USFL owners voted to try to move the USFL's spring schedule directly to a fall schedule starting in 1986. And this was during the urge at the urging of the New Jersey General's owner. And I think you already know who that guy is. Him. Yeah. The bastard. The asshole. The man who would over 30 years later nearly run this country to the ground. I'm not even getting there. Whatever. Anyhow, as part of the strategy for them to try to get to the fall spring schedule in 1986, it didn't work. So their other idea was the USFL, on the urging of Trump, actually filed an antitrust lawsuit against the NFL, saying that the NFL had violated an anti-monopoly laws, saying the NFL was too big and they were dominating all the television markets. And believe it or not, they actually won the lawsuit. Sort of. They won the lawsuit, but in victory only. The USFL was only awarded a judgment of $1. Yeah, you heard me right. One solitary little dollar. One of these. Just one. But since it was an antitrust case, the judgment actually tripled the amount, which means they only got $3. Just $3. The league never played its planned season in 1986, and by the time it folded, thanks to this lawsuit of theirs, thanks to Donald Trump's lawsuit, it lost over $163 million back then. If you were to calculate it now, in 2021, it means they would have lost $389 million. All because of one guy's greed, because he thinks that football should be played in the fall. He took an otherwise successful football league and destroyed it. As I said, a lot of the players there went on to have historical careers in the NFL. Very, very few of them, I should say. A lot of them went on to play in the NFL, but a lot of them, they became legends. Guys like George Allen, Sid Gillingham, these guys, now the guys I'm naming here made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Jim Kelly, Mark Levy, a football coach who was the coach of the Chicago Blitz in 1984. Steve Young, who I just mentioned. The late, great Reggie White. All right, guys who made it to the College Football Hall of Fame. I just named him Herschel Walker. The way I see it is this. I'm hoping that the 2022 version of the USFL actually does succeed. But they'll only succeed if they do two things. Now, we've already got the information. Now, according to my information, they're going to play during the spring or the summer. Stay during the spring and the summer. Do not try to compete with the NFL. You tried it once over 30 years ago. It didn't. Well, actually, yeah. Well, yeah. Over 30 years ago. It's not going to work now. And secondly, I implore you, I beg to God to keep this asshole away from the USFL. This version. Don't make him a team owner. Don't even make him a freaking water boy. Keep him away from it. That's all I got to say on that. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.